No, no buzz. A Just Bees book club. Just for bees. Only bees allowed. I read Abolish Rent by Tracy Rosenthal and Leonardo Vilchis. I have some thoughts about it, I guess. I think it's good. I think it's good in many ways. It is in that sort of class of thing that I tend to look for a lot in left leaning literature, where I'm a person who knows some about a lot of things and not a lot about very specific things often. And it seems like it's very hard to find that sort of mixture of a thing that functions as a primer but is also useful to somebody who isn't just like learning that rent is bad for the first time, for instance, or that mutual aid is good for the first time or whatever. And I think this abolish rent is more in sort of line with something like Dean Spade's Mutual Aid short pamphlet that I read a couple years ago and found very useful. Even though didn't need to be convinced on Mutual Aid, I've been fucking chilling with anarchists for 20 years at this point. Maybe longer. I don't know. I had a pretty no, probably maybe a little less long. I don't know. Whatever. Um, there are things about this that I think are interesting. But the basics of it, right? Just to remember for myself in the future, it starts out with a polemic that is sort of theorizing rent and its position within capitalism, specifically within neoliberal capitalism. That I think hits some good points, but I think the polemic kind of, I don't know, it fell a little flat for me. But then the rest of it is basically just sort of like chapter by chapter going through fights that the authors, who are both co-founders of the LA Tenants Union, have gone through, sort of report backs, thoughts about what worked, what didn't, in attempts to sort of contain all that within the broader theorization of rent and how abolishing rent would affect capital at large and what would that require. Much more organizational left wing than anarchist necessarily. I don't think it. I think it's. I think if I were to boil it down, the argument I think that Vilchis and Rosenthal are sort of coming uh, from is that it is a book in favor of non-hierarchical organizing, which is like a topic that comes up a lot in the world that I live in, and the question of its possibility, and etc. etc. And so that's where I'm kind of like, I have some feelings in directions that are not particularly resolved in my own brain around the contradictions of a non-hierarchical organization that reports to another non-hierarchical organization, because they talk about organizing block by block but also citywide. And there seems to be an inherent tendency, at the very least, toward hierarchy when you are doing a dues paid organization that pays up higher, right? Or that is also involved in an organization that collects, or that collects, not sort of coordinates or manages the other more local organizations. There's difficult. What did I say? There's difficulties inherent in the structure. I think that et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. I was also thinking, like, I feel like there's part of me that was just like, I read this book and the stupidest fucking thing, but like, it seems like a book I could write a blurb out and it would actually sell at my job. Just very funny. Very good way, very good, healthy way to read. And so that's cool. I don't know. It is a thing that I don't think I'm going to be like living with for a long time. But I'm glad I read it, and I'm glad it sort of exists in the world, and I hope, like, I hope it does what it seems to truly want to do, which is to inspire people to, um, sort of be active in supporting tenants unions and rent strikes and the looking in the direction of what might be able to be done, um, going forward in the dismantling of capitalism. You know, that's mostly what I think about, honestly. I mean, that's not even true anymore, but it is a sort of fundamental bee belief. You know, because we're all bees here. Only bees are watching this, right? Thanks for not watching.